So today we want to look at working with CSS. So that aspect, I have to open my app again, press edit. So once you open your portfolio folder, you click on these three dots and select open in editor. So that will look like this. So to access the files that you want to open, you click on the folder above. So if you have watched that tutorial I sent this evening, sorry it's coming late, you will hardly see. So if you haven't watched the tutorial, you have to practice the first one before you practice this one. So now I'm going to click on this folder icon above and then select index.html. So that will display this. So now today we are working on CSS. So now you are going to select style.css to see the environment. So you will have a blank sheet because nothing has been done. So before we start, we are going to add our comment the same way we added a comment on HTML. So this is how CSS comment looks like. You see a slash star with a star slash. So that is for comment symbol on. So yeah, I'm going to type what we have on the source code. General styles. So please don't copy the code I sent you. Make sure you type it on your own to see how it looks like. Than copying it won't help you. So now the first styling you want to work on is the body, and the body tag. Now when we are dealing with the body tag on the HTML like this is the body tag in our HTML, the opening tag. So the one that has a tag name body does not come with a dot. When we are styling, we will just type it body, we will not put a dot on before typing the tag name. But whenever we define a name inside the tag, like class, we gave it a class name, and then we type something like background. When we go to our CSS, we are going to add a dot before typing the name of the class. And if we give it an ID like this inside that same tag background, if we want to use the ID to style, we are going to use a hash word symbol before adding background. That is, we are going to type something like hash like this before typing the name. And if I'm using class, I have to when I'm going to the CS, I have to put dots before typing the name. So this is how it works. And if I want to use the tag name without the class name, I just put body without adding a dot. So that's the same time you want to start using the tag name, you can write the name without adding a dot or a hashtag. And whenever you want to use the class name, you put a dot before the name on the CSS. So this is how it goes. So I open my style.css, and then because I want to use the body tag, all I need to do is to write body, as you can see in the example, then open my curly braces. So I'll look for the curly braces and see if I can find it here. So I can't find it. Okay, I can find it. Look at it. So this is the curly braces. Once you do that, you open it. Now, if you want the body of the HTML to be converted to orange, all you need to do is to come here. So this body now that you are seeing here is what we call the selector. And here, inside here is what we are going to declare. So you want to declare a name called background, then we add our colon to add our word value. So this is our colon. So the background now is going to have a value. So the value now is what background do we want to give it. So I say red, and then I close my word code. So now if I click on the disk icon, which is save, so you click there, that saves it. You go back to your index.html and run the project. You will discover that the background has changed to what? Red. Now let's try to change the background. So this is the power of CSS. Let's go back and change. Go click on the folder, open your style.css. Now let's change the background to blue. So you come here and change the value to blue. You save and go to your index.html and run it again. You discover that the background has changed to what? Blue. So in this tutorial, the body will be given a color white. So let's go to our style.css. Now this is working because we linked it in our HTML on the head tag. Look at it here now on the link tag. Now we linked this. So if this is not linked like this, if there's no value here, the name of the style sheet, if we run this program, you discover that it is what? On white. It's not working. Why? Because it was not what? Linked. So you have to link your external CSS for it to work. So you have internal CSS, we have external, we have inline. So the one I'm doing right now is the external. So you have to link it on the head tag like this. So now we'll go back to our style.css and change the background to white. So you select white, you type white here and save. So the background has now been defined as white. If you don't want to use a plain text, you can use color code. So this is how you add the color code, hashtag. So if you are designing a website for a company and a company gives you their color code, so you can come here and add the color code. So hashtag F4 F4. So F4. So let's see the color code of this. So I save and then go to my index.html and run the code again. So you can see that the color code is still what? Is still white. So that color code now represent white. So let's change the color code in the style.css to something like, run it. So I have something like this. So the color code is actually working. So this is the color code now. So sometimes company will just give you a color code. So once you add the color code in your HTML, maybe you want to use it for the body, use the code at which it was given will reflect. So it's working. So but for this practical, we want to just leave the color code on white. So we select background color white So you can use a text to represent the background. You can use a color code to represent the background. So we have background, which allows you to add both color as a background or picture. And we also have background color, which allows only background to be what added. Only background color to be added. So take note. So now we are styling the body. So we are going to set the margin of the body to what? 0. Set the padding to also 0. Set the text align so text align is going to align any text we are typing on the body to the center. That is what it means. So text align, I'm going to select center. If you don't want to use center, you can type left. So at whatever you are typing, you have to make sure that you are closing it. So I haven't done that. So we have margin, we have padding. It gives a space around the content. Margin gives a space around the word, the element. So that's it. So once I save and run it again, I'll discover that my content is now what? Centralized. Everything is now coming to the center. Everything in my body is coming to the center and stay. So I've centralized it. So now the next thing I do is to work on the color of my headings. So now to do so, you come to your style.css tab. Now you go out from the curly bracket. You go out from the curly bracket and type this. You type this h1 tag, comma. So there's no dot add because these are tags that does not have what class names. h2, comma. So as you are putting a comma, you are grouping. You are grouping all. So meaning that all these tags you mentioned will bear the same what color. So I'll break to come down and then give it a color. So anything that has h1, h2, h2, we have this color. So let's say that the color is orange. So let me just give color. So anytime you want to apply a text color, you use this declaration color, which is this. This is called declaration and this is called the value. A colon, things added at the right is called the value. So let me give it orange and then close it and run it again. You can see everything that starts with h1, h2 that I use in my HTML has been colored orange automatically. So now I'm back to my style.css. So I'm going to give it a color code. So I'm going to change it to hashtag 333 and then we run it again. So I've discovered that the tribe edit saves your job automatically even without clicking on the save what disk. So that's one thing I just realized, and I didn't save it and it changed, meaning that it's working. Okay, So now we are through with the general setting or general styling. So now you want to style the header which we created in our HTML. So I'll come here and give it a comment. So that anybody that is reading my code will know that this is where the header what style is started from. So I call it the header styles. So now in the header style, I had a tag name. Let me show you. In our HTML, this is the header. We have a tag name called header, and this header now does not have a class defined. So here I can add the name header without putting what the is not a class, is not name. So every tag name you write it the way it is. So header, and then I put my curly braces. So I want to style specifically the header section. So I put my background, so a colon, hashtag 222, that's the color code, and then I close. Then the next thing I will add is the color. So I've given a background, so the color I want it to be white, so I'll set it to white 15px. Now if you add more than one value on a padding, this is called shorthand padding. We have padding top, we have padding left, we have padding right, we have padding bottom. So if you want to cover all this in one setting, you use the shorthand, which is padding, just padding to set it. So 15 pixels represent the top and bottom. Then if I add a new value 0px, it means that I want to pad left to right. So I add this on the HTML, and it's coloring everything white based on what I specified. So now we want to style our navigation. Now all these dot things you see on the list style, on the list, is what we call the list style. Is what we call the list style. Now we are through setting the header, which is the parent tag that is covering everything related to the header. So the header has a background color black, and we want to style it. So to style this, to fasten the process, I'm going to go and copy this. Okay, let me follow the process. Let me just show you the process so that you understand better, because the code is already on your Telegram channel group. So now see what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back here. Now at the nav tag, the next tab you will see is the UL. So you want to style this at the same time. So to do this in your CSS, you go to what your style.css, select this part to come down, click on this part to come down. So you write this nav and UL. If you are grouping your styling, you put a comma. So we are separating this, we are not grouping. So nav is separate, UL is separate. So we now put what? A colon, that is the curly braces, and then come down and then write list style. So list style is those on other list that was added as a bullet. on our HTML. So now we want to remove the list style. So use the CSS to perform the setting. So we say list style colon, the value, set it to none, and padding a colon, set it to what? 0. We close. So this list type now, if I run it now, those dot 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 on the list will disappear because we have now, assigned something on it. So let me save it and go to my index.html and run the code again. So you see now that the white dot that you were seeing before is out. Now come down here, and this time I'll call the property of what I did initially and then put my li. So that li means list. So I'm going to add my display. How do I want the list to display? So if I set the display now as inline, it's going to display horizontally. So let me run it, save, and run. Open my HTML and run. So look at how the project is being displayed. That is the about project, contact. Everything is now displayed horizontal, that is straight. Now if you want it to be display vertically, you have to set the display to block. So let's go back and set our display to block and see the effect. So under here, let me set it to block, save, and run again. So are you seeing it? The about project and contact are being displayed in horizontal form. So let me set the margin as well. So you go back to your style.css and set the margin. So I'm going to set the margin to top bottom 0. Now I'll be using shorthand. Let me use the longhand so I can see it. So for beginners, use the long method. So this is how you do it. Margin top, set the margin at the top. So you set it to 0 pixel. You close. Margin left. You set it as well. So margin left, I want to set it to 8 pixel. Margin right, I'm going to set it to 8 pixel. And margin bottom, I'm going to set it to 0 pixel. So this is what it involves. So this way now is the longhand method of setting margin, while the shorthand is just you type margin and then you add the value. So if I want to set the top and bottom, and if I add 10 pixel here, it's going to divide it by 2, meaning that 5 pixel will be added to margin top and 5 pixel will be added to margin bottom. Then if I want to style the left and right, I add another value here, maybe 20 pixel. So this will also divide the value by 2. If it's a whole number, it's going to set it into whole number. If it's not a whole number, it's going to display what? Um, it's going to display a decimal. So, but you have to make sure that it shares this view equally. So this one will set it to left and right. So the second value set left and right, and the other one set it top and bottom. So now that is what this shorthand represents. So let me remove this since I've already added this. So I save by clicking on the disk, and then I run the program again. So this is how it looks like. You might not notice this. So something has been done. There is a shift. So now the text seems to be highlighted blue, showing that it's a link. So if you want to work on this links text, so all you need to do is to go to your style.css. This time around, you work on nav ULLIE. So we are adding this tag names based on how it was set up. So if you look at your HTML, after the nav, we have UL. After UL, we have the LI tag. After LI tag, we have the A tag, which has the link. So that is how you also arrange them in CSS. So I've arranged them, and then I'll put my curly braces, press the enter key to come down. So now I want to work on the text link. So that is how I channel this. So now to change the text color, you select color and choose white, because the background already is black, so white can be visible. And the next thing I'll do is to add what? Text decoration. So the underline on the link will be removed. So we said with the help of text decoration. So it's text decoration, I'm going to say what? None. So once I set this and run it on run my index.html, this is what I will see. Can you see? So if I click on the about link, it takes me to the about section. If I click on projects, it takes me to the project page. If I click on contact, it takes me to my contact page, the about link. And this is done as a result of the ID added to the section. That is this section now. Let me get it. This section, we added contact and ID contact. And when we went to the link, we come and add what? A hashtag around it. So that is how the web browser fetches the page we are looking for. So now we have been able to color our link, and also what? Remove the underline on the link. So the next thing we want to look at is how to add an hover on the what? On the link. So if you want to add the hover on the link, you still need to come back and type the same tag ULLIA with this, but this time around you are going to put a colon and then hover. So now before you hover, you also come here and set the cursor towards a pointer, so that once you are using a mouse to go there, to change to what? A hand icon. Then also set the transition towards to 0.5 seconds. So that's the transition time, 0.5 seconds. So having done that, we now go and set our hover. So we want to be like, when someone click on the link, the color will change. The link color will change. So to do that, you are going to come here and say color. That color should change from white to orange. So color orange. So we have done that. So that's how you hover. Hover is like is used to, change, add an effect on your code. So now I'll save it again. Go to my index.html and see how it works. Run. So watch. Once I click on the link, now it takes me to the about page or about me. Now the link now is highlighted what's green, but before, once I click on it, it will still be showing white. Now if I click on project, watch, the selected link will be what displaying orange as the hover, meaning that is the currently selected what link. And if I click on contact, it is going to be highlighted and telling the user this is the current selected link. So that's how it works. Now we want to style our button, which is the WhatsApp link and this. So our button was given a class name. It was given a class name. Let's check the class name for our link. It was given a class name BTN. So this is the first time we are using we want to style a particular item with its class name. So if you want to add a button or style a button in CSS, all you need to do is to go to your style.css. But this time around, since it's a class name and not just a tag name, so I'm going to use dots. I'll add the dots first before I type the name BTN. Then I put my curly braces, and then I will now put my background, the background of the button. So I want the background of my button to be what? Orange. I close the code. Remember, the background there is the declaration. The BTN is the selector. That is what is being selected. And then the orange there is the value. So I will now say that if my background is orange, that the color should be white so that it will blend. That is, the text color will be white. And also, I'm going to give it a padding, a space around the element. That is, the element there is the text. I'm going to give it 10 pixel. So instead of using margin, padding top, padding left, adding the value one by one, I can use the shorthand. The 10 pixel S styles the top and bottom. And then I'm going to say the other ends, left and right, should be 20 pixel. So I'll set my padding quickly. Then I will now remove the text decoration. Remember, this is a link as well. My button was a link. Text decoration, I'll set it to none. Now I will now set my border radius. So border radius is going to create a curved edge on the shape. So border radius I'm setting it to 5 pixel. The higher the number, the more or greater the curve. So I'm going to save, go back to my HTML and then run. So now anything that has BTN as a button will look like this. Can you see? Now there is no spacing around there's no spacing around the button to see the down part. So if I want to do that, this is what I do. I'm going to trace the section of this. So my section is contact and it has an ID contact. So now if I want to start give it a margin button, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to say dot, not dot. Remember it has an ID. Hashtag, I'm going to put contact because it was the name is an ID. So I'll put hashtag contact and then give it margin button. So we put a hyphen, margin button. I'll give it 50 pixel. So you have to target the parent before you do that. So I've added this. Let me save and then run the code again. You can see that there is now space on the button. There is now space on the button. There is now margin. So that's margin. Margins gives a space outside the element, not inside. While padding gives a space inside the element. So I've given a space. So now, if I click on this button now, I might not know that I have actually clicked on the word button. So if actually I want, once someone clicks on the button, it should change the color. This is what I would do. I have to go to my style.css and then under the dot button, I'm also going to put a hover. So I'm going to say dot button, I call it back, and this time around I put a colon and then hover with a curly braces. So now I'm going to say that the background, remember the color orange is the background, so I'm going to say the background should change from orange to what? White once selected. Then I can still add a transition to it to make the click smooth. So transition, I'm setting the transition to 0.5 seconds, and also the cursor, if you are using the laptop to access the website, you should change to what? A hand pointer. So I select pointer and then I run the code again. So let me run the code again. So now, remember what we started now is the button. So once I select this, you can see that everything is showing because the text was white. This, so white will not work on this. So let me just use black. Let me use black or the color code of this. So let me just go back. So you need to know the type of color you are using. So in the BTN, I had orange. So here now, In the over section, let me change it to hashtag 222 as the background, and then the color of the text when the background changes to black. So I'm setting the color to what? White. So now color white. Then I save and run my HTML again. So let me click on the button view my work. It takes me to view my work. Now, are you seeing it? The button changes to black and the text remains white. So that is how you change. So it's not telling me that this button has been selected. Same goes to when I select my GitHub button. So if I select my GitHub button, it selects the button, telling me that this is the clicked button. So that's the power of hover. So to shorten the process, the code has already been sent. So all you need to do is to go to the code I sent on CSS, and just hold the screen for long. Then you see this box which are both copy. So I'm just going to paste it here so that I have to just pin this. So I'm going to give you an assignment. So you are going to go and practice CSS as well. So I did a lot of jobs. So if actually you followed my tutorial, so where you will start applying code is on about section. So you just copy the setting from about section. So I'm copying this and then go back to your code. Go back to your code, style.css, and then come down and paste. So now for this media to be very responsive, so we have to add at media. This is the next thing I want to talk about, the media. So it's a media query. So we set the mass width of the phone. So when you are working or designing a website, you also build for laptops, desktop. So this is the size of tablet. So the width is 768 pixels. So the project grid direction is set what? Flex direction colon. So save, you run. So now since I've copied the CSS which I styled, you can see the effect. Now my project that has this shadow shifted one side. So if you want to adjust this, so you need to go to your style.css, then look at the section project. Good. This is the added gap. I'm going to reduce the gap to 10, and then I will run it again. So the box shadow also set it to both left and right 60 pixels as well. So let me run it again and see how it looks like if it has shifted. Good. It has shifted. It has shifted to the center. So the box shadow displays the direction. So let me reduce my box shadow. I will reduce my box shadow. So I go to my style.css. and then the box shadow on my project setting. I'm going to reduce the value to 0, then reduce this one to, remember this one styles top and bottom, then this one styles left and right. So let's set the left and right to 10 pixel and run it again. So it's used for adding shadow around the item. So that's it. So we have been able to build our words portfolio. So this is how your website portfolio should look like. Now I discovered that the project pictures are not displaying. The project pictures are not displaying. It's supposed to show me a picture. It's supposed to show me a picture. So this is my project folder. So let me just rename this again. Copy. So let me go back to my index.html. I don't know why the picture is not displaying. Let me check it again. Let me trace it. My project. Yes, an image tag. No, this is let me go back onto. Okay, let me add another picture. Let me just add or copy this picture to, let me just copy it to the image folder. So I'll select paste. So I'm adding these pictures inside the image folder from here. Select the icon here, paste. So you have the picture there. Let me just see if it's going to run on this folder. So I'll go back to my projects part. I'll change it to images. Then same goes to project images. Let me run it. Okay, it's displaying. So this is how it's supposed to display. Supposed to display the picture. That is the project. It was not displaying initially, but now it's displaying. Now, if you want to see how this website looks like on laptop, on your using your smartphone, this is what you do. You click here and go to, you click here. So this is a website. You click on this icon now. It show you the display on mobile, a display on desktop. So these are it displays on a desktop. Once you click on this TV icon, so it displays it this way. Another way you can see it, if you come to device emulator, you see how we find the website is going to look like on smartphone. So if you want to use all these devices, as you are seeing as I'm scrolling down, you need to click on start free trial and select daily access, and then watch some adverts to unlock it. You watch about 4 adverts to get access to the using the free plan, else you payment. So that's how this is done. So we have a wonderful website. with a redirection to your WhatsApp or GitHub.